While COVID was raging across the planet, we were hiding out in southern Cuba, waiting for the world to become normal again. We had left Cayo Algodon Grande and we're heading out to the lonely Jardines, on our way to meet our newest Cuban fishing friends. Hopefully, with the remaining Cuban money we gave them, they will be able to buy us some supplies, especially fruit and veggies, because we are out. We are due to meet them in 4 or 5 days' time down at the very southeastern tip of the Jardines. So we still have some time to explore this amazing archipelago that few people get to see. Just a magnificent day sailing. This is absolute chick sailing in its best. We of course could have gone the easy way to meet our friends, but where is the fun in that? In hindsight, maybe it would have saved a lot of hassle and worry, and things may have turned out a lot different. But God likes to keep me on my toes, people. I don't get much rest, but it makes for an interesting life. We have a unique opportunity here because of the coronavirus. We're stuck here. We've run out of everything. But sailors are not normally allowed to anchor or visit these cays. There's a whole 40, it's actually about 60 miles we're not allowed to visit, but we're going to do 40 mile of it. Got a unique opportunity. I'm sorry people are sick, but we're going to take advantage of it. There's no one there. They've closed all the airports, no tourists. So we're going to go there and visit because, well, no one's allowed to visit anymore. It's a high-end tourist destination for fly fishermen, mainly for tarpon and divers. So let's take advantage of it. Let's go take a look. Let's hope we don't get chased out. The crazy thing about the weather is that we have a westerly wind, almost completely opposite to the usual trade winds, and there's no northerly buster coming through. Now, you're probably saying, yeah, so what, it's a westerly. Well, give you an example. We haven't had a westerly unless it's from a cold front coming down from the States. And usually it goes southwest, west, northwest to north quite quickly within a day. So it's really not that strong. We've got at the moment probably 11 or 12 knots westerly, and it's going to be like this for a day and a half. There is no cold front, so I don't know what's going on, but I'm going to take advantage of it. But as soon as we're past Manuel Gomez Island, which is just up ahead, only a few miles, it's going to be at 90 degrees for about 4 hours, and then it's going to be at 120 down the labyrinth caves. So that's going to be awesome. We're just going to hug this cave, get on the outside, and then I'm going to start to duck in wherever I can, and we'll go suss it out. Oh, incidentally, we're averaging more than 6 knots in 9 knots of breeze. How good's that? And then I just had to stop. I found one of the few sandy patches. We're just coming down the reef. Instead of me going to find an anchorage inside and then bringing the dinghy out, it's pretty calm, so I just thought I'd drop the pick. I'm going to go out there and just drift along and see what type of reef this is, see if there's anything good for margarita. Oh, there were plenty of lobsters, literally hundreds, but we weren't in the mood for lobsters. Pity, there were not enough holes for them to hide in. As per usual, we were in the mood for fish. Let's see what we can get. Once I got to the gorgonias, I knew there was going to be a nice snapper hiding there. I would have to keep my body below the gorgonias and look for the fish amongst the gaps. I love this type of spearfishing. Dinner for the next few days is solved, people, but then things started to go wrong. We got underway again to get into a safe anchorage. We got a bit of a problem. We're trying to get in over there. Apparently there was supposed to be a stick to mark the channel. I'm supposed to be able to see the channel, but I just lost the light. It was brilliant blue sky, and it took me an hour to get here. This came over and now I'm stuck and we're running out of daylight. So we got this strange westerly. Now this looks to me like there's wind coming in tonight. I mean, it's usual that it comes in tonight, but I don't want to be stuck out here. This bottom, it's like a coral shelf. It's very smooth, and in patches there's sand. The trouble is the sand's only about 3 inches deep, so it does nothing. So I've just laid out enough chain now. I'm just hoping this will blow over, because we're sort of stuck out in the middle of nowhere. As we know from previous episodes, come night time the trade winds renew their vigour and blast through at sometimes up to 30 knots and blows like this till morning. And we've got such a huge fetch that it's going to be a very, very unpleasant night, especially if we can't get the anchor to set. We'll just get dragged right over the reef and out. It's just not a nice situation. And there could be hidden bommies. I mean, from the guide that I've got, there's isolated bommies here, so come on, son. I mean, I didn't have any sun before, that's a bit, but I still can't see any channel. And that stick's probably rotted away and gone. And here's another thing, the guide was written 10 years ago, and that fishing station, there's a fishing station hidden behind those mangroves, it's not there anymore. I mean, it's just a wreck. And so the fishing vessels that actually used to go in here, they're about 2 meters. They used to get 2 meters draft. They used to gouge their way out, or way in and out, over this little hump at the start. So it might be that no fisherman uses this anymore. And so basically it's 1.6 meters high, and then there's a divot, and boats of my draft ought to be able to get through at anything other than, well, more than mid-tide, and we're at mid-tide. So maybe they haven't gouged it out in the last few years. I don't know. I don't have any tracks for here. This is a bit disconcerting. It's coming the end of the day and I don't know what to do. I mean, worst comes to worst, we let this blow over and then I just go out and I'll put up the mainsail, and then we'll just heave to and wait for the change to come, and then we just wait it out behind, just a few miles out to sea, and then wait for the morning. I mean, that is the safest option, and we might have to do that because I don't want to stay here in this, because the anchor is not going to grab. I mean, it'll grab and then it won't, and then we'll just get dragged, and that's the last thing you want at 2 a.m. in the morning, which is when the strong winds come through. I checked the Google Earth pictures that I had saved since the Caymans, and there was another anchorage reasonably close, and I could get there by sunset, but then the wind started to die, so we had to motor sail. Alright, well, the motor just overheated. We're lucky we had the jib up. We rounded a point. There's a lighthouse. We rounded the point and we opened up the angle to about 45 degrees. So we get the jib up, we have the jib up, and we're just making enough speed. We'll get in just as the sun goes down. So that's number 2, the thing that went wrong. So let's hope number 3 thing doesn't happen, and that is, what I recall is the tide changed and the entire bay empties out in these very narrow channels. There's only like 5 or 6 of them, and that happened about this time. So that means in 45 minutes after that, it's going to change. So I don't want to be pushing in, because I'm going to be barely getting any speed, because there's only 8-9 knots of breeze, and I'm not going to be able to push against the current. We'll have to dump the dinghy and try and push it as well. But the dinghy, I know from calm weather on that episode, we only do about 2.5 knots. So hopefully we'll get in. We've got enough speed. Let's just hope the current's in our favour, or it turns just as we get in. All right, he's open. Oh, I forgot to mention, so the possibilities for overheating are the strainer's full of weed, because I noticed there's turtle grass around. I've already checked that. No, it had a few wisps of other weed that wouldn't do anything to it. The other is the water pump belt. That is fine. So hopefully it's the impeller, because I hope we don't have another problem like we had all those problems in the past. But anyway, I'll look at that tonight, and it's, look, I would say 90% going to be the case. So I'll get into that tonight, because I know our ankle will drag and I'll need the damn motor. Mind you, I'll be able to use it for 3 minutes to reset the anchor, I guess. But I don't want to take that risk. Anyway, he's hoping. He's hoping. But then when we started to head into the channel, the wind was now directly behind and dropping more. And blowing on the sail just like Wile E. Coyote, with about as much effect. At least there's no cliff for me to fall off. Just like old times. Motor fails. Okay, I don't have a small pole for the staysail. But I'm the pole. I had to furl some of the heady because I can't get the pole on, because I don't have the pins. I take the pins out because they seize up and I don't know where they are. So I furled it a bit, and I'm surprised it's actually hanging out. I mean that's pretty good. And we're just going along. We're doing about 1.5 knots, and hopefully we'll get in there before the tide changes. I think it's just at the top. Margarita, you the front, at the back? It's crazy. Reminds me of the trip trying to get to Isla Mujeres, far out. That was a nightmare. Okay, can you just see that we're on the right track? I think we're doing pretty well. We're actually going much faster than when we had the just the main jib up. I might actually loosen that a little bit. Can you, yeah, maybe a little bit. Loosen the main jib, maybe 1 turn on the winch, just so we can open it up a bit more. A little bit more. All right, that'll do it. I think we're okay. It's really, we're lucky this is a straightforward channel. I mean, it's straight, literally dead straight in, and the wind is directly up our bum. I'm gonna have to find those pins. My God, where are they? I mean, I wasn't expecting to doing poling out. We're heading to the Eastern Caribbean, which means we're gonna be heading into wind all the time, so I didn't even bother. There you go, got to be a Boy Scout, always be prepared. But we're doing nicely. I think, well, I reckon we're doing more than 1.5 knots. All right. We are using our friend's track from 3 years ago, but this channel is 100 metres wide and clearly stands out between the 2 Ks. If I fall in, just keep on going, okay? I'll swim to that beach over there, all right? Just pick me up later. Just dump the anchor, all right? Okay. Because I think the current's still coming in, although it's getting less, and I'll make it, all right? Yep. And if I don't, well... Well, indeed, it would solve all my problems. Okay, so what we're going to do, because we got the change coming tonight, I want to set the anchor using the boat's momentum. So I'm going to furl this, run back to you. We're going to round up by turning to port and using the boat's acceleration as we turn in. Then you'll run forward and you'll drop the anchor as we're heading close to the sun. Okay, it'll be to the right of the sun probably. We won't be able to go around enough. All right, we're starting to get sand. Whenever you can. Go it. Is that a bommy? Well, it was a bit of a cluster stuff up. We ended up turning in the other direction because the boat was naturally turning that way. But the good old Rockner was set in sand, and if I know that Rockner, once in sand, if a change comes through, it'll re-establish itself in the right direction within 2 meters. We're good, we're anchored. Now let's look at the motor. Let's check the impeller. That hasn't been changed for probably about 250 hours. I've got to check the book. All right, so let's get in here. Take off these 6, and hopefully that's the problem. See, everything's so hot. This whole cabin is now stupendously hot. Now, I really shouldn't be doing this over the bilge because there's a big hairy monster that lives in the bilge. No. Well, no blades missing. But that looks very, very strange that that is that direction and that is that direction. I've had this happen once before where the actual rubber has come away from the actual shaft, so it actually spins independently where it ought to spin with the shaft. So let's just see if that's the case. All right, the impeller's fine. It's got all its blades and it's not spinning on its little bush. So I'm going to wait for the motor to cool down. Then I'll check all the coolant, and I mean, the only other thing is maybe it was running at too high revs for too long and it just overheated, and maybe there's something else wrong. Maybe it's bad combustion or something. I don't know. Well, as far as I can tell at the moment, it's not the impeller, it's not the water pump, it's not the any of the hoses, because I opened up the seacock and water flowed through freely. I don't know. I'll put it back together, and tomorrow we'll run it for an hour or so, and let's hope for the best. It's not a very good thing, but this is the same problems we had, what, 2 years ago. Far out. The problem then was the hose, which was a newish hose, a little flap had delaminated from the inside. And what happened is, as the motor increased revs, it slowly pulled out and blocked the bloody hose. But on low revs or medium revs, it wasn't enough force of the water to fully open it up. So that was very hard to find. That was only happened by accident too. So I don't know. Maybe this is a brand new hose. I don't know. Anyway, tomorrow we'll get stuck into it again. Or maybe later on tonight when it cools down. That one's toast. Don't worry, you get a spare. I was up early to check on the engine. There were no leaks and it looked and sounded okay. And there was plenty of water pumping out for the low revs. Just in case, we will just have to keep these at 2,000 and under, unless in an emergency, of course. Now off to go exploring. Margarita wanted to find some shells, of course, so I dropped her off and I continued up to the dilapidated lighthouse. It looks okay here, but it was in serious disrepair, rusting badly all over the place. How rugged and lonely is this part of Cuba? Not a soul around. We were anchored right over there. I was super keen to start exploring this place, and of course to the southeast there was many more miles of this archipelago to explore. And just look at the reef, people. Crystal clear water, awesome reef that hardly anyone has seen. I just couldn't wait to pack up the drone and jump right in. But far away to the southeast, just beyond visual range of the drone, a Cuban military vessel was steaming straight toward us. By the time I packed up the drone and was getting back in the dinghy, I could see it and I knew the jig was up. I had to quickly pick up Margarita and race back to the boat and get it prepared as fast as possible. Did I have a premonition of things to come? You bet I did. Our time had run out. Our next adventure was about to begin.